Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to today's session to learn more about Sage Fixed Assets. My name is Walter Goodfield, and I'm the VP of Sales at RKLE Solutions. I want to thank you for taking time out of your day to learn a little bit more about Sage Fixed Assets. Today's call is being recorded. If for whatever reason you need to drop the session, it will be recorded, and it will be posted on our YouTube channel. If you need to, feel free to send me a request, and I'd be happy to email it to you as well. Joining me on today's call is Mike Petrarca from Sage Fixed Assets. Mike is a business development manager for the Fixed Assets team, and he's been helping customers like you automate the asset management and improve your regulatory reporting and compliance with the depreciation tools that we're going to talk about today. If you have any questions about us at RKL, feel free to reach out to your account manager, either Gia Lane or Rachel Roselli, and we'd be happy to help you after the session. A couple housekeeping items real quick. All lines will be muted during the presentation. If you have questions, please submit them via the Q&A or the chat. I will consolidate those questions, and we have time reserved at the end to answer all of those questions that you may have. We will also open up the lines at the end of the session so that we can communicate openly as well. But let's go ahead and get started. As I said, today's session is about Sage Fixed Assets, and joining us from the Fixed Assets team is Mike Petrarca. We're excited to present this solution today because Sage Fixed Assets works with every Sage ERP solution in the portfolio. It's also one of the few solutions at Sage that is an industry leader among its competitors. Sage Fixed Assets is a very popular solution that extends outside of the Sage portfolio. We have thousands of companies using other products for their core ERP that rely every day on the Sage Fixed Assets. So without further delay, I want to introduce you to Mike. Mike's going to walk you through a few slides about Sage Fixed Assets and depreciation and conclude with an overview presentation of the solution. Thank you, Mike. Good luck. Take it away.
Thanks, Walt. I appreciate it. And good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining us here today. So what we're going to talk a little bit about in the slides here is kind of what spreadsheets, how they put your company at risk if you're currently managing your fixed asset process within the spreadsheet. Talk about some of the inherent dangers, and then speak a little bit about what a solution can bring to you, like the Sage Fixed Asset solution. So obviously, these are some of the questions we're going to hope to ask today. You know, why you shouldn't be using spreadsheets to manage your fixed assets. What are some of the risks? And obviously, what are the alternatives available to you, that being the Sage Fixed Asset solution. So the agenda, we're going to talk about spreadsheet dangers, and then also talk about the benefits of a dedicated fixed asset solution, and then talk about the overall process of managing your assets within that solution. So what do you mean by spreadsheet dangers? A lot of organizations will ask this here on a regular basis, and what it means is the information that's coming up here on the screen is what happens when you're utilizing spreadsheets. Spreadsheets are a great place to start when organizations begin to manage their assets. Spreadsheets are easy to use. Everyone, it's costs. You know, they're usually part of your office package, so the cost is very low to get into it, and everyone knows how to set up a spreadsheet, utilize a spreadsheet. But as your organization grows and your tax laws become more complicated, spreadsheets have inherent risks and dangers, and ultimately what it leads to is, you know, being succumbed by some of those dangers. So data control within a spreadsheet. Usually the knowledge is linked to one person. You know, it's very tough to manage or control different versions of the spreadsheet. They also have minimal security and access control options within Spreadsheets. They don't scale as your business grows, and obviously having to incorporate very complicated tax formulas and rules and regulations as they pertain to either states that you may be operating in or federal tax laws becomes very cumbersome and time-consuming. And bad data or data integrity leads to a following list of issues that can happen when you're utilizing a spreadsheet. Obviously, bad reports. Bad reports meaning that as you're forecasting or budgeting for future years, the reports and information that you have are inaccurate. Inaccurate asset values. So if you have inaccurate asset values, you could be paying insurance, you could be paying taxes incorrectly based on the asset values you have in your system. Inaccurate asset counts means that you could be paying insurance, taxes, and recording depreciation on assets that you no longer have physically located or within your possession. Obviously, this leads to bad budget info, so it hurts for future years, but determining what assets are coming due from a life expectancy perspective to budget for new assets and what you need to do to replace them. And obviously, your depreciation calculations are off, which again offsets your insurance and your taxes that you're paying on your fixed assets. So some real-world examples of how spreadsheets caused issues. Eastman Kodak had to restate financial results in 2 different quarters, one for $2 million and one for $13 million, due to an error in a calculation in a spreadsheet that they were using to calculate pension benefits. Another real-world example is Red Envelope. It was a spreadsheet issue in just one cell within one of their spreadsheets, caused them to have to restate earnings, which caused a 25% tumble in their stock price. So those are some real-world examples. This here is some information from industry-specific organizations, and in here, the American Asset Management Resource Organization determined that 65% of spreadsheets had incomplete, inaccurate, or were altogether missing asset data. And 10 on the low end, 30 on the high end % of the assets organizations no longer owned. Furthermore, the Tuck School of Business at Dartmouth did some tests, and they realized that 64% of financial spreadsheets audited contained errors, and some of those errors were in excess of 100,000, 6 were in excess of 10 million, and 1 was in excess of 100 million. And furthermore, they determined of those 60 to 90% of spreadsheets that contained errors, those were only spreadsheets that contained only 200 line items. So the probability of errors being contained in spreadsheets greater than 200 line items almost increases to 100%. So kind of determines the fact that spreadsheets, although it's a great starting point, sometimes and will cause problems in the future when it comes to calculation errors or formulas being calculated the wrong way or things just being misstated in the spreadsheet. So obviously, how can a fixed asset solution, eliminate these risks in a spreadsheet? So what I'm going to do right now is actually going to get into and show the software. I'm not sure. Walt, can you see my screen there with the software or no?
Not yet. No, you might have to go to share your desktop.
Alrighty. Okay. Share monitor 1. Okay, can you see it now?
It's drawing. Yes. Perfect. It's
okay.
A little small. So for today's users, there's an option to toggle between full screen. That'll help.
Yeah, so I know in WebEx it inherently puts everything into a small screen. You'll see like two arrows going in opposite directions. If you click on those, that should expand your view to full screen. Okay, so what I've opened up here, this is our fixed asset depreciation solution. And what I've done is I have a company open, and I am right now in the System Administrative tab within this organization. And what I want to show you from here, the ease of which you would go ahead and set up a database and set up a company, and then talk about some of the security features within the Sage Fixed Asset Depreciation, and kind of show you what it has that spreadsheets don't have. So in here, obviously, you have your database here. You can go ahead and add a database. Now, a database can contain one or many companies, and we make some recommendations, and RKL can also assist you with regards to this process as far as the number of databases that would need to be set up depending upon your particular need and business requirements. So once your database is set up, obviously we give you the ability to back up and then restore that database. And that happens if you, on a daily basis, want to back up that data information, or if you're upgrading to the next version of the solution, we use the backup and restore feature to restore that data into the next version. And then setting up or handling a company is very simple. I'm using a sample U.S. company here. It's in our demo database. So to set up a company is very simple. You obviously name the company, you put in your EIN number and your business start date and the system number. This is an internal system number that Sage will utilize to record the assets. And then from a transfer perspective, we allow organizations to transfer assets. So if you're transferring assets, say from a headquarters location to a sales division, or from a manufacturing group to a headquarters location, you can perform transfers. And this is how you set up your default transfer mechanism. So we default to location. That's something that's customer specific. Depending on how you do your transfers, you can set that up. And then we set up your books. So in the U.S. company, Sage gives you 7 books. There's a tax, internal, state, AMT, and ACE, and then we have 2 custom books. So a lot of organizations, if they're operating in more than one state, will utilize Custom Book 1 and Custom Book 2 to manage their other state depreciation. Give the ability to set up short years if that is the case, and then book override. So we do have mid-quarter adjustment and how adjustments would happen. And then this is just general information about who's utilizing the solution, and then any external notes that you want to put at the company level. And from a user perspective, we have the ability to, you can assign user preferences based on company. So you can determine who has access to do what. Right now I'm logged in. It's a single user version, and I have super user access or access to everything. So you'll see a lot of I'll have check marks on being able to do everything, but you can restrict what users can or can't do within the system to comply with any regulatory compliance rules that your organization or business may have based on the industry that you're involved with. And obviously you can go ahead and do privileges based on a single user. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go and click on my Assets tab, and this is going to bring us into the Fixed Asset Depreciation module. And you'll notice right off the bat that this looks like a spreadsheet, has very similar look and feel. And that's done on purpose. Although spreadsheets are easy to use and there are some inherent risks and dangers when utilizing spreadsheets, Sage has kind of adopted some of the look and feel of a spreadsheet to, one, have user adoption happen a lot quicker, and it's just a friendlier environment for people who are coming from spreadsheets into depreciation. So you can sit here and from a standpoint of double click on a line, and it will sort by ascending and descending order, similar to spreadsheets. You could grab a column and move it over, and it'll adjust via spreadsheet. So great look and feel as far as interacting with the solution. So we go over a couple of features that we have within the depreciation software that kind of help address some of the issues with spreadsheets and help organizations with managing their fixed asset process. So first we're going to go in here on custom fields. So Sage, you'll see across the top here that we have field headers that we've automatically filled in, and that was our 30-plus years of being in business. These are the fields that most organizations will utilize out of the box. And we also give you, as I further scroll over, custom fields that can be utilized, okay? So to go into a custom field, I'll show you a little bit about this functionality here. So we give you 2 date custom fields and then 10 custom fields that are free-form entry. And all these other fields that are here can be changed, but those are ones that Sage formats for you out of the box. So we'll go to custom field number 2, actually custom field number 1 here, which is our state field. This kind of shows you the power of our solution as it pertains to allowing entry and entry mask that we utilize for entering data into the system to keep consistent with regards to the data that is in your system, which helps with reporting, which helps with sorting the assets when you're viewing them. So a lot of people will enter in state information using either a 2-letter abbreviation. Sometimes they'll use capital letter and then small lowercase spell out the state, or sometimes they use all caps. Sometimes they just spell out the state all lowercase. There's all different ways. And in the spreadsheet, every unique entry that is viewed as a new entry in the system. So it messes up your reporting, messes up your sorting when you go to sort something by a column where people have just free-formed entry in. With the Sage Fixed Asset Depreciation solution, we allow you to mask the entry of that data into the system. I apologize. I'm actually working from home, and I got my home phone ringing right now, so I apologize for that noise in the background there. So the fixed asset data entry mask information here. So what we allow you to do is by the entry mask. So I've got this limited to 2 entries in the system. So I'm using a 2-state entry. A 2-character entry to manage the state field. And here we have what's called our smart list. It's another feature within the solution that helps you manage the solution and manage data entry and information into the solution. So in smart lists, what we have here is 3 states that this sample U.S. company is working with. And what we're saying here is we're going to display the description. We're going to add this as a drop-down. It's going to be a quick lookup, and we're going to restrict the entry to this list only. But say we're starting to manage a new state. So say Maryland's going to be an area we're going to start working in, and I want to add Maryland to the mix. So now Maryland is now part of my smart list. And then that'll only be fields that someone can choose from this particular field. So if we go to field number 2, this is model number, and this is one I want to show you the power of the solution. So when you're importing your assets for the first time, we have an import wizard that you can map and bring information over into the fixed asset depreciation software. So if you have fields that you want to utilize in depreciation, but you're not sure how you want to handle them, you can map them into our custom field. So here is a custom field where we mapped in the model number for these assets that are in our sample data. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to activate our smart list and pull up our smart list manager. Now you see this is blank and there's no information in here. So an organization could have many different model numbers, different combinations. To enter that information in by hand can be very time consuming and could be error prone. So what we give you is the ability to do a fill. So what this is going to do is based on the information that is in that field in the spreadsheet that we imported in, is going to fill in all the model numbers, unique model numbers from that field. And then now this will be a drop-down list that somebody can utilize when doing data entry. So I'm going to mark it as a drop-down list, hit close, and then hit OK. So that is the power of utilizing smart lists and field mask, field entry to enter information in. One of the other unique features within Sage and powerful features here is you can see here groups. So right now I am looking at all my completed assets. I can also change this to look at all my active assets. And all the active assets will then be displayed and shown in my view. But say I wanted to look up or find assets of a particular class within a particular location or division. So that's something we can do within our group manager. So here are all the groups that I have created already. So say I want to do a new group. I want to create all assets that are listed as motor vehicles at my headquarter location. So I'm going to click Add, and you'll notice anything you do in the Sage Fixed Asset Depreciation software is driven by these entry wizards and kind of walk you through the process. So here I want to look up all my motor vehicles, so I'm going to go with assets that have a class of motor vehicles. So I'm going to click on class, and then we have a bunch of different operators here that we could choose from, but I'm going to choose is, and then what happens here is my smart list that I created for asset class comes through. So now I'm going to select motor vehicles and hit Add. My next criteria are going to be the location. Let's scroll down here to my location, and then is, and then headquarters. And then here are the 3 locations that we have. So we have headquarters. I'm going to hit Add. I'm going to click OK, and I'm going to close. And now I will have a view that will show all my motor vehicles at headquarters. So it'll break down my assets. And you'll see the power of groupings when I talk a little bit later about reports and how you can utilize groups to do reports and only do reports on specific assets. So now that I have this here open, I'm going to open up our Durango SUV asset, and this will give you an idea of what the individual asset looks like when you click on an asset and open it up. So you'll see here you have your 7 books and all of your asset data. And as I click through here, you can see right now it's at headquarters. Those are the different locations. We imported our general ledger, our general ledger expense account, our general ledger asset accounts. All that information comes through, and then obviously the custom fields are where we want to enter information. So say you're adding assets. How do we enter assets into the system? Well, one way is by just clicking on Add an Asset, and you give it a unique asset ID. If you're using asset tags, you utilize that tag, give it the ID, and then fill in your information. But that could be time consuming. Obviously, if you have multiple assets that you have entered in at the same time, you could create an asset and then use our feature called Replicate Asset, which will then replicate the asset. But say you're bringing in the same assets all the time. You have the computers or something that you're purchasing, say on a monthly or quarterly basis, and to enter them in time by hand or to replicate them becomes very time consuming. What we have the ability to do is you're able to go in here and utilize a template. So here's my template for a laptop. And I'm going to apply that template to this asset. So what we've done is we've gone in and selected, this is the Dell laptop, this is the asset class that we're utilizing for this asset. And again, these are all from drop-down menus. And then we select our GL account numbers. We can put a unique serial number in here, a unique asset ID. We can change the owner. But all the pertinent information about that particular asset has been saved in the template. So it reduces the time it takes to enter information into the system for a particular asset. So down here in the tax books or in information, these fields up here that are highlighted are all you need to enter in order to get an asset in the system. These are also the fields that organizations or Sage does not allow organizations to modify in the system. So by property type, these are the property types that the IRS puts out, and we have them loaded up in here for assets. If any of these here change, we're located right outside of DC for a reason, because we have, you know, great ties to the federal government and monitor when tax laws and things change. And when they do change, we update that information into our system in future releases. Your place in service date. Again, one of the dangers of using spreadsheets is sometimes people enter in different forms or versions of dates. What we do here is we actually give you a pop-up calendar to make sure that you can select the correct date, and the format we use is 2-digit month, 2-digit day, 4-digit year. We also select the depreciation method. So the depreciation method, we offer over 50 different depreciation methods, but based on the property type and the placed in service date, we're going to provide you with all of the depreciation methods that will be available to you based on those two criteria. And you can choose whichever one becomes more applicable to your business or your organization. You know, we use the Makers 200 as it's the one that offers the best tax benefits to most organizations, so we default to that method, but you can change that information if you'd like. And then we also, the estimated life. So here, based on this property type, the placed in service date, and depreciation method, we'll calculate the estimated life. And obviously, if you're not sure on how to calculate or determine the estimated life, we actually have a link that we provide out to the IRS tax tables, and then you can look this up. So IRS classifies laptops as computers, so the useful life you see here is 5 years. So that's kind of how we assist with getting asset information into the system and helping eliminate some of the risks that are inherent with spreadsheets as far as bad data coming into the system. What I want to do here is show you some of the reports that we have within the solution. And obviously we offer a multitude of different reports that we have formatted out of the box. Obviously some of the more popular ones, we offer the ability to do projections. We have a depreciation expense report, which is a standard report that most organizations will run. We have the FASB 109, and show you some of the powerful ways of utilizing report writers. So this is Form 4562, which is depreciation and amortization report that is formatted, ready to be submitted to the IRS. And obviously we offer multitude of other types of reports, and you have the ability to do batch reports and obviously save special or favorite reports that an organization would run here. So a little bit about how to work within the system, a little bit about how it's set up. Now I'll talk a little bit about our integration with our ERP system. So as Walt had mentioned before, obviously Sage Fixed Assets is set up to integrate with Sage ERP, but we also have the ability to integrate with non-Sage ERP solutions from a fixed assets perspective. About 80% of the business that Sage Fixed Assets does is with organizations that do not run the Sage ERP solutions. So we have organizations that are running Oracle, SAP, Infor, Lawson, industry-specific ERP solutions where we integrate and organizations manage their fixed asset depreciation and calculations within the Sage product and then integrate that information back to their ERP. So in the links section here, we have depreciation links. This shows where Sage Fixed Assets will integrate back to the Sage ERP. So what this does is the GL posting reports that Sage Fixed Assets creates, these links will automatically take those entries and put them into the Sage ERP solution. So there's no need for manual entering that information in, doing an import-export of that information. We also have the ability to link from the Sage ERP into Sage Fixed Assets. So from Sage 100 and Sage 300 ERP, when you're in the ERP system creating or going through a accounts payable or PO transaction, if you check or denote that purchase as a fixed asset, that information will then flow into fixed assets and create a new asset in our system. And when new assets come into the system, they come in as they will come in as incomplete assets. Right now I have none in here, but you'll see assets that come in from our tracking solution, that come in from our planning solution that we have, or assets that come in from integration with ERP will end up here in incomplete assets. The reason why they end up here is obviously there's been no depreciation done on them yet. There's been no depreciation methods chosen or how you're going to depreciate that asset. So until you determine how you're going to do that, they will stay here, and then once you denote them as an active asset, then they will show up in your whole asset list or your active asset list, which is here. So while I kind of walked through everything I wanted to walk through from a demo perspective, it's kind of real high level as far as how you would pull assets in, how you would work with individual assets and create assets in the system and use the system administration to set up information in the system. So I guess with that, maybe we'll open it up for questions. If anybody has any questions.
Fair enough.
See information.
Perfect. Thanks, Mike.
Yep.
While you were presenting, we had a couple submissions online.
Okay.
I believe you addressed the first one. What is the integration touch points with the Sage ERP? And just to revisit that, obviously the general ledgers integrate for GL transactions and financial reporting, as well as the asset creation via the AP invoice or purchase order.
Correct.
Good. The second question, and I believe it's related to importing data, but this person said, can I import my master data from Excel to Sage FAS? I believe that means their asset listings during maybe the initial data conversion and implementation.
Yeah, I'll show you this here. Let me just close this company here. So I want to, import information into the system. So I'm going to go here to my company utilities, and I'm going to do a custom import. And again, this is a wizard-driven process. So you're going to import information in. You're going to ask where you want to select your file from. So I'm going to go here. And for some reason, mine is not pulling up the file or getting me into the system. So let me just go through here real quick and pull. Oops.
There you go.
Oop, there we go. This is what I wanted. So you select your file, and then where you want to select what company you want to bring it into. So you can create a new company or select an existing company. And I'm going to select a U.S. company and hit next. You're going to select if there are these new assets or these updated assets. So, maybe you have information that you want to update on your assets coming out of your system. But I'm going to select new assets. And then we're going to, I'll show you here in a couple seconds, but we're going to create a field map. So I'm going to go here, and again, this is a wizard-driven process. So what we're going to do here is we're going to map these fields to our depreciation. So down here is the spreadsheet. So these are your field headers from your spreadsheet, and here are all the fields that are available within depreciation. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to General Fields, so I can make this entry a little bit quicker. So column A contains the asset ID. I'm going to map that in. Column B is our description. And so column C is the acquisition date. Oops, go to my. So as you see, you can map the information in here. Obviously, once you've created a map, we give you the ability to save a map. So if you're exporting your data or information out of a third-party system on a regular basis, and you have that file formatted in the same way every time, you can create a map. And I'm going to show you here. Instead of me going through for time purposes creating this whole map, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go back, and I'm going to select the field map that we have in our system here, and I'll show you what this does. So I'll open our field map. I'm going to hit next, and what this did is basically maps all of these fields here to our fixed asset data fields. Click next, and it's going to confirm A is asset ID, B is description, C was acquisition value, and all the information. I can validate this. It's going to say it's going to import existing assets, and you're going to hit finish and hit yes. And then what happens is all of these assets should now be imported into the system. So if I go back to opening my company and go to my sample U.S. company, and this is a snapshot report that we give you when you open up companies, so you can utilize this here, one of the other reports that we have that come out of the system. You can also turn this off if you like and access it at another time, but if you'll notice when we're first doing this here, the assets will then show up on the bottom here as imported in. Or for some reason, I don't know if it did map in correctly, but that is the process of mapping assets into the system. So it's something that Sage can set up for you, that process, or RKL I know has the ability from what they're consulting to assist with taking files of asset data that you may have either in a spreadsheet or coming out of a third-party ERP system and map that data to be imported into the Sage Depreciation software.
Right. Thanks, Mike. The last question before I open the lines is,
sure.
I'm gonna boil this one down. What is the price for Sage FAS? And I'll take a stab at that first.
Sure.
It's not as easy as just giving you a price today on the phone. There are some additional questions that we need to qualify with each of the buyers. Number one, database, how many users are going to access the system. Do you wish to use Sage FAS in a standalone environment, or do you want to take advantage of that integration to Sage ERP that's delivered? And then on-premises versus online, there's different deployments, as well as some advanced feature and functionality that's sold a la carte. So the best advice I have for everyone on the phone, if you're interested, give us a call. We'd like to learn more about your environment, your needs, and make sure that we prepare the right Sage Fixed Assets configuration for your business.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, most of the partners we work with, like RKL, we have the expertise on staff, and RKL has expertise on staff to discuss needs and requirements based on the business you're in, the number of assets you're managing, your IT environment, number of users that you're going to need within the system, and all of that helps determine what version of the solution would be right for you, and then obviously that would also determine the cost of the solution.
Right. Yep. While we're talking, Mike, can you pass the controls back to me? And at this point, I'm going to go ahead and open up all the lines. If you have any questions, you can still feel free to submit them via the online chat or the Q&A. Once I take back presenter controls here, I'll unmute all lines.
Hold on 1 second, Walt.
Yep.
Go.
Great. Great. At this time, all the lines should be unmuted. It doesn't appear to be working correctly, so I may have to, I'm going to try something else real quick. I apologize. The unmute the lines is not working. If you have any questions, please feel free to submit them via the online chat before we conclude today's presentation. Okay. At this point, Mike, there aren't any other questions. I will feel free to follow up with each of the attendees today, make sure they have the recorded session. If there are any questions, I'll be happy to share those with you and Gia and Rachel accordingly. On behalf of everybody here at RKL eSolutions, I want to thank you, Mike, and thank each of the customers that took time out of their day today to learn more about Sage Fixed Assets. Thank you, everyone, and have a great day. This concludes today's session.